The first set of materials from this week really hit home and connected with me. Personally, I identify myself as a feminist and I'm proud to label myself as such, but I know many women are scared of that label and all that it entails in today's society. Roxane reiterates this in her TED-Talk, Confessions of a Bad Feminist, by saying that, quote, the feminist label was an accusation, an F-word, and not a nice one, end quote. As Ari says in her response, quote, feminism in today's society is unfortunately associated with the image of man-hating radical women, end quote. However, this really is just not the case at all. Most women just want our voices to be heard as much as our male counterparts' voices are heard. Some men often see women who identify as feminists as people who dislike them, but that's just not what feminism is about. It's about wanting equality for women of all races, sexualities, gender identities, etc., and aligning it with the treatment white cis straight men receive in the United States today. Oftentimes, men who recognize themselves to be all four of those identities see feminism as a threat. For example, my older brother identifies as a white cis straight male and uses the fact that I'm a feminist against me when we have discussions about politics or social issues. His response to things I say is usually, of course you say that, you're a femme. But he uses the term femme as an insult, much like how Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie said her friend used the label feminist as an insult. Another thing from Roxane Gay's TED Talk that I wanted to discuss was brought up in Addie's response. Gay states that, quote, we can stop supporting professional sports where the athletes treat their partners like punching bags, end quote. But why just focus on the viewers of the sports? Viewers and fans may be the people who bring in the most money for professional sports, but what about the owners of the professional sports teams? Can't they stop signing the players with records of domestic violence, or immediately cut players found guilty of domestic violence during their careers? The owners of the team have so much power to change the ways in which treatment of women is represented. However, it's things like these that make me realize I too am a bad feminist like Roxane Gay. I enjoy watching professional sports teams, and even identify as an avid fan of certain teams. I may not listen to hip-hop or rap, but I do participate in watching professional sports games, and for that, I wonder, does that make me a part of the problem? Are females who consume these medias and texts just adding fuel to the fire? Do we have to feel bad for enjoying things that seemingly destroy the image of women and are insulting towards us? One thing that really struck a chord with me from one of my group members' responses was Jessica's response on her favorite quote from Roxane Gay's Confessions of a Bad Feminist. The line Jessica chose was, quote, we have the right to make choices about our bodies, free from legislative oversight or evangelical doctrine, end quote. To piggyback off of this, Jessica brings up the debate of abortion and how some people believe that women shouldn't have a right to their own opinion or even to their own choices regarding their own bodies. This is a highly debated issue in today's society, especially recently with the defunding of Planned Parenthood. Pro-life individuals disregard the fact that Planned Parenthood does way more than abortions. In fact, some of their clinics don't even offer abortions. The main reason people stand with Planned Parenthood is because of all the additional services they provide women with at a low cost. Women should have the right to services that can help them in their own bodies. As Roxane Gay says, we should have the right to make choices about our own bodies without legislative oversight or evangelical doctrine. According to Caroline Seed's article on understanding feminist criticism, feminist theory is taking feminism and pointing out specific creative weakness and using it to explain real-life ramifications. Feminist critics tend to demand women to be presented as living, breathing humans and not as token characters. So after watching Lindsay Ellis's The Whole Plate feminist theory episodes, I was curious as to what her reaction would be on the new Transformer movie, Bumblebee. I'd like to know her stance on the female Decepticon as one of the villains in the movie. Even though Michael Bay did not direct this one, he did produce it. How does this coincide with Bumblebee having a young female star who knows all about cars and is presented as more than just her body, and instead she's given a coming-of-age story? Did the writers of the script bring this female Decepticon into the movie to say that females are villains, or to finally include a female presence in the world of the powerful roles of Transformers? However, is this female Decepticon just a token female character? Was she placed in the movie because of the backlash the other movies received for not having a female Decepticon? In the second set of materials from this week, feminism and feminist theory is also discussed. Many of my group members brought up Bell Hooks's Oppositional Gaze and the fact that black women are still not being included in the white feminist agenda. Ari brings up the quote from Hooks that says, quote, "Clearly the obsession to have white women film stars be ultra-white was a cinematic practice that sought to maintain a distance, a separation between that image and the black female other," end quote. Ari explains that this quote shows that white women have a privilege that black women do not have. While white women are portrayed less and misrepresented more than white men, black women are portrayed less and misrepresented even more than white women. This idea goes back to intersectionality and how our different identities interact with one another and impact who we are as individuals. Intersectionality is something that still needs to be represented in the media for those who are not straight white individuals. Speaking of the media, the set of materials also covered elite media and Noam Chomsky's manufacturing consent. Many of my group members were also outraged at the fact that only 6 big corporations own most of the world's media. These corporations produce material that aligns with their opinions and will make them money. This brings up the idea of media bias and how dangerous passionately watching the same news source each day really is. Addie explains that, quote, "Consumers are constantly encouraged to access more than one media outlet to get more than one view of a story, but many consumers do not do that and are closed off to the rest of the world," end quote. This fact is extremely dangerous and affects the ways different groups see different events and ideas. This is especially hazardous when discussing politics. Fox News has always been the conservative news outlet, while CNN and MSNBC are known to be more liberal. Many people who watch these news outlets don't deter from their usual outlet and are only exposed to one viewpoint. This can cause them to believe so avidly in a perspective that isn't always truthful or accurate. My question is, how do we get people to actively search for different news outlets with different perspectives? How do we get people to see the other sides of arguments and discussions? More importantly, is there a way we can make media less biased? Knowing that all of the world's media is owned by 6 corporations is terrifying. These companies only seem to care about what makes them money and how the things they represent can make them more money. If media wasn't concerned with advertising or making money, would it be less biased? Obviously, the second set of materials left me with a lot of questions, but I look forward to further researching media outlets and corporations to tackle some of these answers for myself. It's interesting to me that time and time again we have discussed representations of women and black individuals. However, I look forward to seeing what other materials will be presented in future sets of materials on different gender identities and races that we haven't seemed to cover all that much. I look forward to this because I know a lot about the lack of representation of women and black individuals in this society and the society's media, but I don't know much about other races, sexualities, and gender identities being discluded. I know they are discluded, but I look forward to seeing how badly the media portrays them. How do these big 6 corporations affect the ways in which we see these different identities? And will we learn about this through future materials?